Boomers stole our futures, yet still want respect.
Way some of these younger Gen Z people could weather such a storm without quitting.
Those people who are 26 and younger tend to be the most challenging to work with.
Median home prices have more than doubled between 2000 and 2020.
They'd rather leave a company than actually address the conflict.
Boomers stole our futures, yet still want respect. Guys, these people are something else. Watch the end of the video to fully understand why boomers stole our futures, yet still want respect, and how this is going to affect the boomers, Gen Z, and other generations going forward. And now let's just jump right back into the video.
Man, if you're part of Gen Z, we're really coming up in some tough times, man. The toughest times in recent memory. Economically, politically, socially, there's a lot of turmoil in the world right now. And despite that, a lot of what we hear from the older generations, especially the baby boomers, is that we're morally bankrupt. It's our fault that this is happening. We're lazy.
Guys, I know you want to watch the video, but this is a Gen Zer. Guys, this is a Gen Zer. Look carefully at this guy. Look at his head, guys. Look at this is a Gen Zer. Holy cow, y'all. Look how old he looks. Guys, look at the headlines. This guy looks like a good 40-something. That's, I don't even want to say 40, man. Like, that'd be a hard, that's I'd say a good 45. A hard 45. That's a hard 45. Tell me in the comments, y'all. Be real. Tell me in the comments that he doesn't look a hard 45. Look at those headlines. He's a Gen Zer? What the flying?
It's our fault that this is happening. We're lazy. We're going to be the death of the United States, and it's our fault. We're just a weak, soft generation. And it's really unfortunate because when you're dealing with such tough things, you really need better leadership than that. But that's not what we're getting. Now, let me give you guys some stats here for what we're really talking about. In 1965, 11.5% of our GDP, essentially our national income, went to entitlement or welfare spending. Looking at last year, almost 19% of our national income was allocated to entitlement programs. So what does that mean? That means that the younger generation, we're expected to double what we're spending on welfare programs from what the older generation was spending when they were younger. They're essentially handing us double the bill, and there's a couple reasons for this.
And just to let you guys know, today's video is brought to you by Mitchell K. His channel will be linked in the description so you can go and check him out and, you know, support his content.
First of all, baby boomers and Gen X had fewer kids, which meant there were fewer of us to share in this burden that they created. On top of that, as they got older, they've been really voting to expand the kind of welfare and entitlement programs and essentially just passing on the bill to us. We're just supposed to figure it out. And then on top of that, we've got the military-industrial complex. And this is something that Eisenhower tried to warn America about back in the 50s. Nobody listened. You look at our military spending, even adjusted for inflation, and continually we're spending more and more than ever before. And do you feel safer? I don't know if I do. We're on the brink of World War III. Nonetheless, with all of this extra spending, who's going to get caught with that bill? It's the kids. So what is the point that I'm trying to make here? First of all, we can't take the boomers too seriously. There are some good boomers, but a lot of boomers, and the majority from what I've encountered, will run up the debt, right? Pass us this giant bill and then call us lazy when it's time for us to pay their bill that they borrowed, and then we feel demoralized. We're the lazy soft ones according to them, right? So honestly, I'm gonna try and do what they should have done and try and give us some, guidance. How can the youth, how can Gen Z live a better and more fulfilling life and have a better future? The first thing that I think we've got to do as a generation is realize that the party is over for a while. The boomers threw a crazy rager. It was lots of fun for them. We came too late, and now we're on cleanup crew, right? We've got to figure out how to live frugal in our personal lives, but how to also reduce government spending. I think one of the worst things that we can do is just perpetuate this problem and pass it on to our kids, kick the can down the road. That's what the last few generations have done to us, and obviously it sucks, dude. There's a reason why rent is so unaffordable. The worst thing that we can do is continue to live above our means like the last few generations have done and doom our kids even worse than where we're at, because let's be honest, where we're at is already a pretty tough spot to get started in. Secondly, we've got to focus on ownership and independence. What does that look like? I was recently talking to somebody who was Navajo. His mom grew up on the reservation, and she grew up on the reservation during the Great Depression. And what she told him when he was young is, while the Great Depression was happening outside of the reservation, I had no idea. Where we grew up, we had all of our own food that we raised, that we grew. We had our own animals. We had a well. To them, it was basically irrelevant what the economy looked like outside of their home. They had everything that they needed because they had built that independent, self-sustaining structure at their house. Now, as far as ownership goes, let's just be honest. A lot of these corporations don't care about people. That's why they pay us crappy wages. And a lot of us are struggling when maybe they could afford to pay better wages, right? At the end of the day, you want to own what you labor. If you work for a company, they're only going to pay you a percentage of the value that you provide to them. If you own your own business and you're essentially a 100% owner or even a 50% owner, you're going to get a higher pay for the actual work that you do just by being an owner in it. On top of that, when we've got more entrepreneurs in the workforce and we've got fewer workers, that's going to make these companies have to fight harder for good labor in the workforce. It's going to drive up those wages and help more people. And with that, I want to clarify, don't be afraid to work extra. Don't be afraid to work hard and to work overtime. Just make sure that it's not all going to a company where you're on salary or where they're not going to reward you. Make sure that you're working on something that you own or where you're going to get extra benefit and get the most reward. You're only going to be young for so many years. Something to think about. I'm not a financial advisor. If you store all of your wealth in cash or in US dollars, right? Something backed by US currency, they can just print more money. They did that during COVID. You're not going to protect your labor and be able to store it if it's held in US dollars. Just something to think about. Lastly, and I'm sure you've all heard this before, don't be afraid to lean into technology. With AI especially, technology's growth trend is about to go crazy. And if you get left behind, it's going to be incredibly hard to play catch up ever again in the future. So try and stay at the forefront. It's what's going to get you paid the best and allow you to take better care of your family. I say that with an asterisk though. If there's anything morally reprehensible you think, obviously don't lean in.
Now, guys, he makes a lot of very good points. Bro looks a hard 45, dad bod going on, midlife crisis already had that midlife crisis. Unbelievable. I don't know what the hell has happened to Gen Z. Holy headlines. This is Gen Z. Holy cow. And guys, the boomers, of course, these people are these are some very bad apples, very, very, very bad apples. I actually got a comment from one of the bad apples, from a boomer. This was on one of my videos. The boomer screwed things up so bad, and a boomer left a comment. He said, his name is Chris Wild T, and the spelling in the video is the grammar in the video is the grammar. His grammar was just really, really bad. So what I did was I just plugged it into ChatGPT, Copilot, but same thing. It's powered by OpenAI and powered by ChatGPT, and it just rewrote it for us, so it was more coherent. So he says, so far, 16 of my Gen X friends have unsubscribed from you after being subscribed. Don't think that boomers don't have power. We know people. Also, we're not all 1 foot in the grave. I don't know a single Gen X individual who disrespects boomers except you. Well, now we're going to work on that. Wow, who the hell does this guy think? Who does this guy think he is? Do you see what the boomer said, guys? So basically, I talked about what they've done to the economy and the fact that many of them are rapidly ending up homeless. And despite all of this, they still expect respect. And they think they're the greatest generation. There's actually an article that the boomers put out recently claiming that they were the greatest generation. But this guy literally said, so far 16 of my Gen X friends have unsubscribed from you after being subscribed. 16 guys. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. You had 16 Gen X friends that were subscribed to my channel, and they all told you that they've unsubscribed now. Well, that's a large following of people. 16. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. He's lying. All right? Don't think the boomers don't have power. Of course they do. They've held this country hostage for the last 50 to 60 years. All right? And notice, like they vote more than anyone else, even though Gen X will soon overtake the boomers and be a larger population than the boomers within the next couple of years. The boomers will continue to have the lion's share of voting of voting when it comes to voting in the U.S. for decades to come. Okay, the more boomers pass away, the more boomers will come out to vote, because the boomers vote at levels higher than every other generation. This is the thing about the boomers. All right, yeah, so they're attack here he is attacking me, and yet he's talking about all the power that they have. In other words, it's corruption. They've used their power to vote for all of these policies that put us in this place, but they don't want anyone to talk about it. So he's there admitting that they have lots of power, and yet doesn't want to take any responsibility for how they screwed things up. How crazy is that? We know people. Guys, that's a threat. In other words, they want to silence me. And also, we're not all 1 foot in the GRAVE, guys. In other words, we'll be around for a long, long time. A lot of us will be around for a long, long time. I don't know, guys. I don't know. That's the boomers for you. Narcissistic, disrespectful, immediately tries to shut you down and tell you to shut up, or you're not gonna like it. This is the face of the baby boomers. That's who they are. That's who the baby boomers are. That's who the baby boomers always have been. All right? They've always been that guy. They've always been that guy. I'm telling you guys, they screwed everything up so bad. There's a comment from one of my subscribers, Big J Find a Way, and he basically wrote a list. Let's go through it together. This is the sins of the boomers. The boomer generation, born 1946 through 1963, achieved the following: getting rid of the old system, getting rid of the old style learning on the job, apprenticeship, elevating higher education to such an absurd degree that everyone had to get it. And consequently, that was the second one. Number 3, and consequently, they ended up in mountains of debt too, which the boomer parents didn't see coming because that wasn't present in their day. 4, throwing away traditional discipline for feel-good stuff and lies. This not preparing kids for the real world. 5, throwing away traditional values altogether and adulterating religion to accord with what's trendy. 6, fostering an attitude of there's always more and it's all for us. We created runaway spending at the individual and national levels. 7, creating this progressive attitude that you're failing are not your fault, but those of society or someone else. 8, pooling all the resources and power structure of companies for their own benefit and excluding the next generations from them. 9, essentially coming up with the political correctness and foisting it on academia, the media, and the corporate world. 10, turning HR into the employment nightmare it is now. 11, turning their kids into spoiled, entitled brats. Funny how you mentioned Britain. Who's in charge of Britain now? Keir Starmer, born 1962, boomer. Guys, there you go. This is what the boomers have done. Guys, all this is going to lead to is more people walking away from Western society, relationships in Western society, saying we're done with it. No one's going to bail the boomers out. They think they're going to just vote their way out of this. Vote to refill Social Security. Because the Social Security funds will run out definitely by 2024, 2025. Although but that's only if we continue to maintain the same same levels of employment, which we've been told it's not going to happen. It's crazy. So they think they're going to just vote for the government to basically print $1 trillion every year to replenish Social Security. They'll need about a little over $800 billion a year to keep Social Security going. $800 billion a year, y'all. That's in addition to payroll taxes. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So the boomers have run everything into the ground, and they think that they get Gen Z to pick up the bill for them. As you can see, Gen Z is already pushing to get basically abandon everything. That's really where Gen Z is going. The boomers really think they're going to pass the bill on to Gen Z. They screwed the millennials. They screwed Gen X. They screwed all of us. and now they think that they're going to pull it off. They think that their next act will basically be riding off into the sunset and keeping the party going while everyone else continues to foot the bill for them. And if you don't like, and if we say anything, if we complain, then we're not going to like it, because they have power. They have power, and they can silence us and they can destroy us. You saw what this guy wrote. You saw what his comment was, guys. And again, when it comes to Gen Z, these kids are not, guys, I put up a poll recently, 45 minutes ago at the time of making this video, 426 votes. I asked, in 10 years, most Gen Zers will be, and let's see here. 27% said they don't care. 11% said they don't know. 16% said that Gen Z would still be in the workforce. 46%, a massive number, says will not be in the workforce. The vast majority of people say that Gen Z will not be in the workforce. Only 16% actually believe that Gen Z will still be in the workforce in 10 years. Most Gen Zers will still be in the workforce in 10 years. Everyone knows that Gen X and older millennials are going to have to work into old age, because a lot of the younger millennials are going to drop out too. They're not going to stick around. This is only going to create a society of further hardship, and a lot of people living off their parents' disability. And when it comes to Gen Z, stealing and squatting. Are there some decent members of Gen Z? Maybe. But at the same time, a lot of them, look at Mr. Beast right now. Look at Jimmy. Look at what Jimmy has done. And bro is just literally covering it up. Like, you have to remember, like, no matter how decent a Gen Zer seems, wait for it. Wait for it. Because there's always, it's like Lily used to, I think her name was Lily on How I Met Your Mother, used to say, "Where's the poo? Where's the poo?" You haven't seen Gen Z's poo yet. All right? You haven't seen the poo yet. Guys, the poo is still coming. Where's the poo? It's still coming. When it comes to Gen Z, the poo is still coming. All right? There's some BS. You're going to see some more total BS from Gen Z. I guarantee it. By the way, guys, subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy. Also, subscribe to the Angry Guy Clips channel, where we post shorter videos and video responses, and also to the Angry Guy live channel, where we live stream. Both channels are linked in the description. And finally, guys, protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Click the link in the description to get started and support the channel. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Boomers stole our futures. The boomers stole our futures, yet still want respect. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, man, walking away. And cheers.